Hi, this is Kevin Brantner from Brantner Jigs, and I have something I want to share with everybody and try to get the word out about something that we're doing that's hopefully going to help a lot of people out there. Um, Typically, you have your uh, tungsten jig with the fly hook, with the eye of the hook being sideways, and what I'm trying to do is get away from that. I'm actually working with Curtis Funk from Funk's Jigs, trying to basically revolutionize how we fish when we're ice fishing. Um, I'll show you this fly hook style jig that you normally see out there. It's been around for a long time now, and I've got your typical fisherman's knot on it to hold it so that it sits horizontal. And if you pull back on it, it'll sit pretty good, pretty level. I'm sorry if the jig's moving around a lot and the plastic's not sitting on there very good or whatever. I'm just basically trying to just show you a quick clip on what the process is about, what the process of thinking is all about for us. Um, with this style of jig and jig hook, you got your plastic on there. You drop it down the hole. One thing with the Brantner jigs is we're going to have a really super good glow on there. So when you put it down there, it's going to stay glowing for a long time, so you can actually catch a fish with it. Well, one thing I've noticed a lot of times, if you're fishing, say you're fishing for bluegills and they're kind of finicky, they'll come up and they'll grab just your bait. That happens a lot with a wax worm or whatever. This plastic that I'm using doesn't have a very good tail on it, so I don't really have a whole lot to hold on to. Where, like you say, you got a fish coming up and it grabs just the bait and it pulls down on it. You can see it on your flasher and whatnot, and it's pulling down. You can feel the bite. You go to set your hook, the jig comes up, and this is what happens. It gets all cockeyed and it's not going to sit level anymore. So you have to reel it up while you're up there. You pull it back so that it's going to sit level, and while you got it there, you might as well recharge your glow and whatnot. Well, the idea behind all this, with this new hook that we're using, Curtis and I, it's a jig hook, and you're going to see the difference right away when I put that out there in front of the camera. You're going to see the benefit of it, and then I'll explain the benefit of it. For the typical fisherman, it's probably not that big of a deal having to reel your jig back up and resituating it and then dropping it back down the hole, because you're not really in any kind of a time crunch. Where with the tournament fisherman, you want to have that jig down there in the strike zone as much as possible. So what we decided would work better is a jig hook with a regular bend on a regular jig hook bend on it. So what you get out of that is it naturally sits horizontally. Try to settle it down here for you. And what I've got tied into it, tied on the line, is just a regular, it's a loop knot. I just tied an overhand knot just for this, but you'd probably use like a Rapala knot or whatever happens to be the popular type of knot that works. But as you can see, there's no pressure on there, because there's no knot. There's no pressure holding that thing level. So it's just going to sit there. And the benefit of that too with that loop knot is, when you're jigging it, I'm not in water, so it's not going to have the action it normally would have. But you're jigging it, and that hook or the eye of the hook can move back and forth and give you more jig action. In this situation, say a finicky bluegill comes up, grabs on the back of your plastics or your wax worm or spike or whatever you're using, and you can see where the jig is sitting straight up and down right now from me pulling on it. So you say I set the hook and you'd think it would want to stay that way. But in this situation, with this setup, it'll just, if you miss the fish, it'll go back to horizontal. So in that case, you're still in the fish zone. You don't have to worry about pulling it back up. You're still in the strike zone. You don't have to worry about pulling it back up because you know that it's still there. Yeah, in some cases, you might get a fish that'll grab it hard enough, like if you're using a waxworm or whatever, it'll pull that waxworm off. You got to reel it up anyway. But in some cases, or probably, hopefully, most cases, the fish will just grab it and this will slide out of its mouth. You go to put it back down and the plastic's still there, or your bait or whatever, and you're still fishing. And with the Brantner jig glow, you know that it's still glowing yet, so you still have your jig in the strike zone, and you're able to wait for that fish to come back and hit it again. And this time you let it bite long enough to grab a hold of the hook, and you pull it up. You got a fish in the bucket for your weigh in or to take home and clean. So I hope that this enlightens some people on why we're switching over to this style. This is something that's brand new for the most part to the ice fishing industry, and I think it's really going to be a big benefit. And I hope the other people that see this, you people that see this, I hope you're as excited about this new concept as what Curtis and I are. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm going to cut this off so that it doesn't take all day to load it onto Facebook. Take care and good luck fishing.